What is going on, Swoopers? Welcome back to a special Squawk with Swoop. I'm here with the man and the legend, Caden. How you going, mate?
Going well, Luke. Mate, this is FIFA pitch scenes here at the moment. It's one of the biggest weeks in the footy calendar. Super nervous about Thursday night. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm about the same. And I should mention that we're here at the spiritual home of the Pies. We're at Vic Park. I was going to go for neutral territory, but you've opted for Vic Park. So.
I like Vic Park. It's where all the content creators come and kick the footy. So maybe many moons ago the final would have been here.
Yeah, bloody hell. Like, was the 89 final probably would have been at the G. I think it was in Melbourne. That was the last time. But look, tell me, first we'll talk about Melbourne just in general, how you saw this season.
Yep.
Were you thinking, top four was on the cards, or it was a bit up and down this season? What were your thoughts throughout it?
Yeah, I think top four was the bare minimum. The list is primed.
Yep.
It's ready to go. We obviously won the flag in 21. Backed up with a brilliant year last year. We finished second, got the double chance. In the back half of last year, we looked cooked.
Yep.
We looked absolutely cooked. But you sort of deny that as you go through the season. You sort of go, oh no, we can play our best footy at the end of the season. But we just didn't see that for, pretty much in that whole back half of the year. So it was a very disappointing way to go out. They've talked about righting the wrongs. They've talked about building the season differently this year. We've tried to build so we play our best footy at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a hard thing to swallow when it's round 7 and you're 3 and 4 or 4 and 3. But that's what they kept saying to us, that we're building differently this year. We're building so we play our best footy at the end of the year. And we've seen that in the last sort of 7 or 8 weeks. So it's as primed as we've ever been for a shot at it. We were a soft call away from finishing second. So we could have had a home final. We ended up getting a home final anyway, but it's against the best team in the comp. So I'm pumped. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Like you said, sort of building into this season, because you started 10-0 last year.
Yeah.
So it is a bit different, but you're peaking at the right time. Like I said, I think in my preview for this game, you guys are probably the most informed team coming into finals. And as much as it is a Collingwood home final, it's literally just neutral territory, at the G. I super wanted to play a interstate game because you have most of the crowd and you have that sort of advantage there. But we copped Melbourne. It's probably finishing fourth is probably the best for you because third and you go to the Gabba.
Yep.
Off recording, we talked about sort of the run through, and we will take it a week at a time. But it's in the back of my mind, if we lose this game, having to go through, because we think Brisbane are going to win against Port,
100%.
So
100%.
You kind of run into them at a prelim at the Gabba, which you already have recently, right?
Yeah, so I almost feel like it sort of spoiled the party a little bit. I almost feel like Collingwood and Melbourne were the two best teams in the competition. I know Brisbane have been consistent all year, and they bank those wins at home.
Yep.
And maybe that's a little bit of a cheat code, but they have been a really good side. But for most of the year, the best of Collingwood and Melbourne, to me, looks like just a formidable grand final. Now, I know Brisbane are in the conversation, and they definitely deserve to be, but it's almost like us slipping to fourth. It's almost, meant that we probably won't verse each other in the grand final. We were speaking about the punishment of losing this game. You got to go through Carlton, who, an MCG side in terrific form. They've built so they're playing their best footy at the end of the season. They're probably very stiff to not bank a couple more wins earlier in the year to finish in the top 4.
Yep.
And then from there, you go to the Gabba. So it's going to be difficult for the loser. It's almost going to be unfair for the loser because both these sides deserve to be in the grand final. But that means that Thursday night's even more sort of... the adrenaline will be there even more for Thursday night.
No, 100%. And like you said, it would suck to be the loser of this game, even though you get a double chance. There's a lot of sort of storylines going into this game. Obviously, the biggest one is Grundy, who I think won't play, because I think with Malcolm's injury, you've got Tom MacDonald looking at coming in, who had a good game for Casey, and albeit Brodie Grundy had a good game for Casey as well.
Yep.
But what are your thoughts about the game? We talked about how it's going to be raining. We're both look, on Twitter, people will say, "Oh, Collingwood, it'll suit Collingwood better." We're the team, but our contested ball, and ground ball have been low for the last half of the season.
Yep.
And you guys are a really good contested possession side. So a wet slog is going to be an intense game. How are you kind of feeling, or how do you see it sort of not so much winning and losing, but how do you sort of see it playing out?
Yeah, well, so there's two sides of the coin. Like, I've sort of all week thought about how have the Pies peaked too early? Have they potentially not timed their run? Are we getting an out of form side on our home ground? Have we got the luckiest draw ever in a qualifying final? And then there's the other side of me that goes, Craig McRae's an absolute genius. You were 3 or 4 games on top of the ladder, so to drop a couple and give the side some loading, get everyone fit is just a logical thing to do. And he's someone that would have a couple of tricks up his sleeve. Like, we got the job done by pressing up and sort of running at your game that sort of just flows through the middle with the handball. So we sort of stifled that. But the 2 games last year, you beat us by sort of just switching the ball a lot and taking like little short kicks and holding onto the ball. So even though we're expecting to sort of stifle that run and gun, he's got modes that I'm a little bit intimidated by. So, there's a part of me that thinks we could get the job done, and a part of me thinks the wet could help, and then there's a part of me that thinks, you guys are the best side in the competition. The Magpie Army are going to turn out in force, and if you got the job done, I'd probably walk out of the MCG going, well, that is the best side in the comp. So, in terms of the wet, we lost most of our games in the wet this year. We lost to Essendon when it was pouring down in Gather Round. Went to Port Adelaide on the Friday night. It was pouring down and we lost. We lost to the Cats in the rain on a Thursday night, GWS in the rain at Alice Springs, and then we lost to the Blues, which was quite wet on that Saturday night a few weeks ago. So a lot of people on Twitter are nervous about the conditions. There's one side of me that is nervous about the conditions, and then there's the other side of me that goes, well, we're well rehearsed in the rain. We've got midfield bulls that love the contested footy, and we've got tools like Max Gawn who can either kill the footy or just cause havoc. Like, it might take out his intercept game, but he can still have an impact in the wet. So I don't know what is going to happen, but I'm pumped. I'm really excited because just to go on a bit of a rant.
No, go ahead, man.
But we haven't been relevant for most of my life, and I've seen the Pies have always been one of my favourite teams. I loved Dale Thomas growing up. I lived in Geelong, so the team that I despised was Geelong. Living in Geelong, they were winning flags, we were winning wooden spoons. But I always loved the Pies. And you guys have been relevant for a long, long time, and it comes with the criticism and the media and the pressure. Yeah. But it's fun. It's so much fun. In the last 2 or 3 years, it's been an absolute ball to be somewhat relevant. We get spoken about on the Monday Meads test, and we get spoken about on the couch, which is exciting because for many years we didn't. So I'm just almost trying to soak it in because a big Thursday night qualifying final against the biggest team in Melbourne / in the competition is just an absolute privilege.
And that's it, right? It is all about soaking it in. We know, and I know as well, finals don't come easy, right?
Yeah.
And they don't come probably bigger than this. I know you said, we probably not deserve, or we've kind of earned a grand final between us, and that could happen. Collingwood beat Brisbane in the qualifying final, I think 0-2 or 0-3, and we versed them again. We got done by West Coast in the first one, and we versed them again, or played them again. People don't like me saying versed on my channel. They always call me out for it. Played them again. But look, it could set up for a big sort of grand final. Who do you think is going to sort of, I know you got your Petrarcas and your Pickett's and stuff, but who do you think is going to take the game by the scruff of their neck? Maybe a surprise sort of player.
Well, people have been talking about the form of Trent Rivers.
Yep.
So he is, what I love about our backline is everyone can intercept. Salem can intercept, Jake Bowie can intercept, whether it's by ground ball or sort of in the air. Bowie plays out of his weight class every game. But Trent Rivers is sort of this guy who can intercept like a lever, obviously not to that level, but then can really penetrate with his run and his kicking. He almost reminds me of a more controlled, more composed Jaden Hunt. Jaden Hunt would sort of take the game on and it was brilliant to watch, but Trent Rivers has a little bit more class. But what we've done with him in the last, pretty much all season is almost done what's Hawthorn did with Will Day and moved this sort of half-backer into the midfield. And he's a bigger body and he's a taller sort of player, but he can play that outside while we have the Bulls go to work. So Trent Rivers could be a bit of a revelation in the wet, in a contested game. Like, he could be the person that really gets the metres gained and really breaks the lines when other players can't because it's so contested.
Yeah.
And then I know you mentioned Pickett. He hasn't quite had a great performance in huge games just yet, and he's still so young. Like, his highlight package is unbelievable. Every second week he's in our best players. It just happens to be every second week. So if he could do that 2 out of 3 weeks for a whole season, he starts to get in that All-Australian conversation. But I'm expecting like a big performance or a big sort of statement performance from him at some stage in the finals. He's been bubbling away for a long time. The way he was leading up and getting his hands on the footy against the Swans was really exciting. And I just think he's close to putting it together, especially on the big stage. Yeah, no, I love Pickett. Mason Cox loves Pickett. You've probably seen that. Like, you've got so many, good players. And there's that guy that sort of ripped us open early this year. And forgive me if I get his name wrong. He's got 2 names. Is it James Jordan? Yeah. Is that his name? Yep. Yeah, the old double J. Yeah. Will he play? Because I know he's a bit of a utility as well. And I remember he was the one that sort of marked that ball, kicked that goal in that last quarter, which he ended up winning by 4 points. Is he a look in? Potentially. I'd say probably not. We seem pretty settled with our midfield mix. It's him or Tom Sparrow. Yep. James Jordan is so unlucky. He's our sub all the time. Yeah. He's been the sub for 2 or 3 years. I wouldn't be surprised if he left at the end of this year, just through opportunity. Yeah, he's someone, there's a lot of players on our team and in our twos who could, and I know people say this all the time, it's a bit of a cliche, but he could be playing in a midfield, contributing as that 3rd or 4th banana, just giving some of the A-graders a bit of a chop out. In most other sides, he's a very solid midfielder and player. Very defensive-minded. Yep. For a long time at the Melbourne Footy Club, we'd have one-way running midfielders. But now, almost since we got Bernie Vince in, we've introduced, like, all our midfielders run both ways. You'll see Clayton Oliver take intercept marks in defence, you'll see Petrarca in the back line mopping up. And that's what I love about our midfield. And James Jordan sort of exemplifies that defensive running for our midfield. He probably doesn't get a look in. I think Tommy Sparrow and like a few others will get the nod ahead of him. Yeah, but, fair enough. He might be the sub, but he's great for our depth. It'd be a shame if we lost him. Yeah, no, I think he came on as a sub in that Collingwood game as well. That's what he does.
Look, no Nick Dacos, right? Which you're probably
thank the heavens.
Yeah, you're probably very happy about. I thought maybe they're going to say no, and then Wednesday night they say, guess what? he's playing, which is not going to happen, but would have been pretty cool. Who are you who's the Collingwood sort of player that you look to and go, far out, this guy might be able to, win it off his own sort of boot or get the guys by the scruff of their neck and take them over the line? Well,
he's just such a hard matchup, and it'd almost be like he's underrated, but he's not underrated anymore, but it's Jack Crisp. I've seen so many Queen's Birthday talk about breaking the lines. It's almost hard to stop. There's no one that can go with him. Especially, he plays predominantly midfield now, doesn't he?
Yeah, they've been touching him into the midfield without Nick Dacos. Yeah, he's floated through halfback. I think his best position is probably halfback.
When he flies off the halfback line,
yeah.
He can gain like 50 or 60 metres like without disposing of it, which is crazy. And then his left foot is insane. So Jack Crisp really worries me. The other one that worries me, and the rain might negate his influence, but Mason Cox tore us apart on a Queen's Birthday.
Kicked 5 that day, I think.
Yeah,
and he won
the Neil Danaher
medal.
Trophy. And it's a bit of a joke because he's this big larrikin, this big American, but I've seen what he's done in finals before, and not just 1 or 2. He's a proven finals player. 95,000 at the MCG. I think there's been questions whether he should be selected. If Mason Cox isn't selected, I'll breathe a sigh of relief.
Him and Dusty Cameron are playing. Flight just confirmed before we got in, so Cameron
that makes me nervous. That makes me nervous, and it might take people by surprise because he is, lackadaisical. He sort of just goes through the motions, but he could have a massive impact. And when you start having forwards or ruckmen that, I know Gorney is tall, but when they start going above that 200 centimetre mark, and you've got a couple of them, we can get stretched a little bit. Like, I know Stephen May's a premier defender, but when it's like Brisbane and Hipwood and Danaher, and it's more than one are like that 200 plus, we can get stretched. So I wouldn't mind Grundy coming in. I understand from a forward perspective he probably won't. But to have him out there, I wouldn't be complaining.
Yeah, and you kind of do need that sort of extra ruck. So, like, you would think that Gorn obviously takes majority of the ruck, obviously.
Yep.
And I think that's why they're really going with Cameron and Cox, who are starting to come into a little bit of form. We play better when they're playing better.
100%.
And obviously the same with sort of Gorn. Your ruck is your sort of X factor, your tall ruck is your sort of X factor. And they're just going to wear him down. I would, Grundy kicked, I think, 2 goals against us when we played against you guys earlier. I'd love it just for the storyline.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
But if he gets the call up. But you're right, like, they're not going to put him as a sort of forward or anything like that.
No, you're right. And I think, like, Bailey Fritz is back and at his silky best. He missed 6 or 7 weeks with a broken foot and kicked 5 against the Swans.
We didn't even touch on him,
And he looks so silky. Yeah. And he's someone, I'm gutted about Malcolm, because to have Fritz and Malcolm, who play a similar role, both can play taller than their size, both can play when, they're not irrelevant when the ball hits the ground. They're quite good on the ground. And they can just find 1 or 2 goals from opportunistic opportunities.
Yes,
which is, there are forwards in the comp that can't do that, and they certainly can. So I'm gutted for Malcolm, but I think Tom MacDonald comes in to give Van Rooyen a bit of a chop out. He straightens us up. He's done it all before, Tommy Mack. He's a seasoned veteran. Van Rooyen, I don't like seeing him go in the ruck because he's our sort of golden child.
Big boy, yeah.
But he is athletic and competes really well. Like, once it hits the deck, he follows up really well. I think he could get towed up if he's rucking against Cox or Cameron. But if he could just halve the contest and follow up on the ground, that's all he needs to do. And, I think it's down to, like, Chandler, Pickett, Neil Bullen, that pressure. Like, it's going to be wet. You've got to lock it in. And you've got to lock it in for long periods in your forward half. My only issue is there are times where we do play Collingwood and it'll live in our forward half for a little bit.
You don't score?
Don't score, and it goes down the other end, you kick a goal, and it's like, what the hell is going on? So, just to take our opportunities, especially with those small forwards, is going to be absolutely key. Yeah,
it's like we talked about, I'm so nervous. It's, and hearing you talk about it, so look, I don't know about you, maybe you do it a little bit more. I don't really tend to watch games that aren't Collingwood. I'll flick a mind, give me a KO 20-minute mini sort of highlight package and stuff like that. So I've seen a couple of Melbourne games, but hearing you talk about it just kind of, just uneases me a little bit.
The one thing that I've been sort of thinking about throughout the week is all year they've talked about righting the wrong. Like, we went out in straight sets, finished second, went out in straight sets. Like, I know Gorn was injured, Fritz was injured, Petrarca played with a crack in his
yes, he did.
His leg in the semi. But for me, it's no excuses. Like, our VFL team won the flag. We had great depth. We should have cycled them through the ones a lot more, which we're doing this year, which is so exciting. Like, so many fresh faces have reinvigorated the group this year. I love the group, and I understood that they were burnt out and they were pretty cooked. But for me, it's not an excuse. And, you only get generational players, like, maybe once in 30 or 40 years. Like, to have Track, Oliver, Viney, Gorn,
it's crazy.
Ray,
it's crazy.
All out on the same park is ridiculous. So I appreciate what they did in 2021, but I don't want to be that Essendon side that only got one when they deserve 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So to get one more, I think I would be absolutely fulfilled. Like, I feel pretty fulfilled, but there's still a little bit of room in my cup.
Yeah, 100%.
So to bank one more is massive, and that's why there's almost pressure. There's almost pressure to get the job done. But they've spoken all year about how they want to right the wrongs. And if we do drop this one, albeit against the best side in the comp, that'll be 3 finals in a row that we've lost going into a semi against Carlton.
Yeah.
So just relieve the pressure and get the job done, boys, is all I can say.
And before we leave, what's your final predictions for the game?
I think.
And you can be open and honest as well if you got to say Collingwood have a chance here.
Well, I think the Pies are a chance. I think it's definitely a coin flip game.
It is, yeah.
I'm going to back the boys in. What I've been talking about is, like, throughout the year is, like, they've done it before.
Yep.
Even though I did hear Jeremy Howe talk about how they played a qualifying and a prelim last year and only missed by a kick. So part of me goes, that's a veteran side as well. But our boys have done it before. We're ready. We're battle-hardened. We're in great form. I don't think either side's going to kick more than 60 points.
Yeah, okay.
And I think it might be...
Especially if it rains as well.
I think it might be 58 to 53 in the Ds.
All right.
Just get up. Hopefully we're like 10 points up all game and you kick a late one and you try and wrestle it back. But I just want that buffer and that control all game and we just professionally strangle and we just get it done and get out of there and hopefully have an easier prelim. Nah,
too easy, man. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking the time. Tell us where we can find you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm just on YouTube, Caden MacDonald. I do footy vlogs, so I do them, all year round. I just make footy content, and it's not always about the D. So, hop on YouTube, and you can find me on Insta and TikTok as well.
Too easy.
Thanks, mate.
Good luck, mate. Just not enough to win.
Huge. Can't wait.
Thanks, brother.
So nervous.
Thank you, man. Thank you.